Hey guys, it's Tyler McKinney back here again, and today, I'm going to rant. I get frustrated with this, and it seems like it happens every year, and I'm just going to take this opportunity to start it in week 2, and if it happens, you can tell that I already predicted what was going to happen. So yes, I'm going to rant about the SEC, and I'm going to be flat out honest with you right off the bat. Yes, I am an Ohio State Buckeyes fan. I am a Buckeye through and through, and I believe that the SEC is overrated. Now, I'll give you the fact that yes, that they have these recruiting classes on these teams, and they have some of the best recruiting classes, which do other teams in the nation. Look at my Buckeyes, for example. But when I look at this situation, the thing that drives me absolutely batty is we get done with week 2. Yes, was that Texas LSU, an exciting game? Yes. Yes, was it something that was great fun? It was great atmosphere. We had 2 really good teams battling it out. Yes. We had LSU come out on top, and they did, come out, and you saw they were definitely the better team. But why in the world do we go from taking a number 6 team who beats a number 9 team? How in the world did they jump all the way to number 4? How did they jump up 2 spots when the teams that were ahead of them both played very well and did absolutely nothing that would be deserving of them being leapfrogged? And so now we've got 3 SEC teams in the top 5, and I could easily see those SEC teams ending up in the college football playoff and them not having an issue with it. The fact of the matter is that neither LSU or Alabama play Georgia this year because the SEC, they only do an 8-game schedule. So what it is, you play the 6 teams because there's 7 in your division, and then you play 2 cross-conference. Well, when there's 7 on the other side, most of the time you're going to end up not playing. You don't play 5 of them. So what happens is that let's say Alabama and LSU play, and you pick your poison, flip the coin. One of them wins, one of them loses, but it's a really close game, right? It was all tooth and nail, and they got them that time. But man, both those teams are really, really good teams, and they both go the rest of the season undefeated. Let's just say for the sake of this season, and for the sake of what we just got, LSU wins. Let's say they win 34-31, okay? They go on to the SEC Championship, and they play an undefeated Georgia team. And that undefeated Georgia team, let's say they have another slobber knocker, and they go through and they do to LSU what LSU did to Alabama, and they flip the coin. So they win the SEC, and they're undefeated, and they get in. And guess what? Well, that LSU team was a pretty good team, and, it was only this and that. And so they take a 1-loss Alabama, they take a 1-loss LSU team, and they take an undefeated Georgia team. And I could even see them doing that over undefeated teams from other conferences. I could see them easily doing that, taking, let's say, Washington State goes undefeated for the whole season. I could easily see them taking a 1-loss Alabama team over that Washington State team. The thing that drives me nuts is this hype train. Where in the world did this hype train come? We're in week 2. Granted, I get it, we're in week 2, and I know I'm already ranting. But the thing that drives me nuts is, and why I think this can happen, because you got a team that was number 6 that jumps to number 4. Now, they beat a team that they were supposed to beat. The line was 6.5 points. They won by 7. So they did what Vegas predicted them to do. So why in the world, if they did what they were predicted to do, they go from number 6 to number 4, and nothing happens with any of those teams before them to make you think that they would be less deserving of those top spots? And that's what I'm saying. For some reason, we have this mentality that when the SEC is hot, man, they are hot, and they are just the best thing since sliced bread, and we're just pushing them to the front. Granted, again, LSU played a great game. They're a very, very good team. And if you look, they have 5-star guys across the board. They have talent galore. One of the biggest issues they've had is they haven't been able to put an offense together to actually get the ball to those 5-star recruits so they can actually do something with it, and they're finally doing that. And now they're seeing it, and it is kind of comical because now they're everybody's all up in arms about LSU putting up 500 yards and against the Texas team that gave up a whole bunch of yards last year, and the defense was suspect to it. And so, now we're all like, this is crazy. And like, I love Joe Burrow. He's a Buckeye. He's always going to be a Buckeye. And I think that that's actually pretty funny that that it's an Ohio boy from Ohio that's leading this LSU team and carving up the SEC. I enjoy that. But the fact of the matter is now Joe Burrow is this big Heisman guy, and I'm like, where is all this hype coming from? I mean, granted, they played a good game. They did what they were supposed to do, though. Why in the world, because they did what they're supposed to do, now we're jumping them, other teams that did other things? And granted, yes, I put it out there. I'll put it out there again. Yes, I'm a Buckeye. I'm a Buckeye fan. I get that. But I could easily see this being the SEC playoffs, and I've already seen how this playoff system is already becoming easily manipulated, and that it's not really a fair situation across the board where it was, and now granted, I get it. It's college football. There's going to be a lot of, there's going to be a lot of discussion in that, and it's a lot of people, their opinions. It's going to be a lot of opinions because a lot of teams don't play, and that's the issue, and that's the problem, that you don't really get a good representation because you don't really have a way to really measure them against each other. Because especially if they're not playing these other conferences and they're not getting to these other schools, you really don't know what's happening. And so instead of giving the teams that are the champions of their conferences, where they beat all the other teams in their conference and everybody had a shot in their conference, and then you take those guys and put them together and you can say, well, everybody had their shot. Well, yeah, we say, well, yeah, they had their shot, but they didn't go, you had your shots if you go undefeated, if you're a Power 5 school. But in some of those instances, these conferences are better than the conferences that some of these other teams are playing in. I mean, we're still trying to figure all this stuff out. It's week 2, and again, I get it. I'm ranting in week 2. But I'm just sick and tired of these overreactions. It was a good game against 2 good teams, and LSU came out definitively on top, like we thought they would. Quit overhyping it. I think Joe Burrow's a good quarterback. Quit overhyping the Heisman thing. Give it a few more weeks. Let's look at, let's see where we're at week 6, week 7, when we're starting to get in the middle of the season and get things rolling in that with it. But I am just, the hype stuff just drives me nuts. And I don't know how, without things happening ahead of you, how you can jump teams like that. And it seems to be this is an SEC thing. That there's this, SEC bias that's out there. And I know some of you guys are going to jump on me like I'm crazy, like I don't know what I'm talking about. But to you guys, I want to say, why don't you go look back at the bowl season the past couple years, and let's look at the record of the SEC teams and see how they fared. Because you might be surprised with what you actually come up with when you're done looking at that. I'm not saying that the SEC doesn't deserve the accolades that they do. They do. The problem is that I think that we overreact to that and give them more benefit than what they should. If you remember last year, we had this Georgia team who lost to Alabama, who gets barely left out of the college football playoffs and gets their rear ends handed to them by a Texas team. Now, I don't know, but to me, I'm kind of wondering. And then you have Alabama and go and get their rear ends handed to them by a Clemson team. And the fact of the matter is if Oklahoma had any semblance of a defense, Alabama probably would have lost that game too. So now we're looking at this thing, how strong was the SEC? Are they really as strong as what we think they are? And again, I get it. They've got these 5-star talents, and they've got all of these guys, and they've got this great talent, which I totally agree with. But also, I've seen a lot of teams that go out there and win week in and week out with less talent than some of these other teams. And granted, I get that we're on different spectrums and things like that. But at the end of the day, some of our rankings and some of our stuff might actually be wrong, and conferences might not be as good as what we think that they are. And really, the only thing that's going to settle this would be to take all the conference champions, and you can add in 3 other teams to make it an 8-team playoff thing, and go from there. That's the only way that it's going to make it fair and give everybody a shot. And I get that. I'm just saying, here we are in week 2, and we're already getting the overhype and the over adjusting for what we saw with one game out of 2 games so far. All I'm saying is that I could easily see a situation where they can put 2 to 3 SEC teams in the playoff and not think twice about it, and leave out teams that are probably better and more deserving of being in there because they actually went out and won their conference. That's all I'm saying. Again, I apologize for ranting. I know this is something new on my channel, and it was just driving me nuts, so I had to go out and I had to say something. Question is, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm off my rocker? Do you think, now look at this guy, he's crazy, he has no clue what he's talking about? Are you a big SEC guy and think that I'm just nuts and that you're never listening to this guy again and you're giving me a big thumbs down? Whatever. Let me know down in the comments. That's the beauty of college football, is we get to discuss things and we get to be fans and show our fandom with it. So, guys, I'm showing a little bit of my fandom tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed it. All right, well, I know that you're busy and I know that I'm busy, so let's get out of here. You have a good night.